Translation. The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. Please repeat this translation. The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The defenseless creatures, according to Brahma Samhita, are the cows, brahmanas, women, children, and old men. Of these five, the brahmanas and cows are especially mentioned in this verse because the Lord is always anxious about the benefit of the brahmanas and the cows, and is prayed to in this way. The Lord especially instructs, therefore, that no one should be envious of these five, especially the cows and brahmanas. In some of the Bhagavatam readings, the word duhitruhu is used instead of duhatihi. But in either case, the meaning is the same. Duhatihi means cow. And duhitruhu can also be used to mean cow because the cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god. Just as children are taken care of by the parents, women as a class should be taken care of by the father, husband, or grown-up sons. Those who are helpless must be taken care of by their respective guardians. Otherwise, the guardians will be subjected to the punishment of Yamaraj, who is appointed by the Lord to supervise the activities of sinful living creatures. The assistants or messengers of Yamaraj are likened here to vultures, and those who do not execute their respective duties in protecting their wards are compared to serpents. Vultures deal very seriously with serpents, and similarly the messengers will deal very seriously with neglectful guardians. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is a verse spoken by the Supreme Lord Narayana. He is speaking to the Kumaras. He is particularly mentioning, not only in this verse but the past few verses, the position of the Brahmanas as so very, very, very important. The whole of Krishna consciousness is dependent on Brahmanical culture, protection of Brahmanical culture. That's why every day when we offer food to Krishna, we particularly chant this prayer. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. So Krishna is the protector, especially of the Brahmanas and cows. He is actually the protector of everyone. Jagadhitaya. Go Brahmana Hitaya, Jagadhitaya. Simply by giving protection to cows and Brahmanas and cows, the entire world can benefit. Welfare activity is possible for the entire world by simply protecting Brahmanas and cows. So the king or the governmental head has to particularly protect the Brahmanas and cows. Actually, Shastra says 5 categories of persons are to be particularly protected by the king or the guardians. Defenseless creatures. Bhutani alabdha sharanani. Defenseless creatures. Otherwise, if they are not particularly these 5 are not protected, they can be exploited. They can be harmed very easily. Who are they? The cows, the Brahmanas, the women, the children, and old men. They can be harmed very, very. They are defenseless. And among these 5 categories of defenseless creatures, 2 are singled out in that special prayer. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagadhitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namah. But in this verse, the Lord is particularly mentioning, Lord Narayana is mentioning, Dvijavaran Duhatir Bhutani Alabdha Sharanani. Dvijavaran, the Brahmanas. And Dvija refers to all those who are twice born. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. But here Dvijavaran is used to indicate among those who are twice born, the best are the Brahmanas as a class. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas all are called Dvija. But Dvijavara or Dvijavaran in plural refers to the Brahmanas. And Duhatihi, some readings of the Bhagavatam, there is Duhitruhu. Duhitru literally means daughter. But in this context, it is referring to the daughter of the sun god. Which daughter? The cow. The cow is considered the daughter of the sun god. Who's the other daughter of the sun god who's famous? Yamuna. Mitrasya Putri. Mitra means sun god. Mitrasya Putri. There's one prayer offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he was traveling, he came across the river Ganga. He's traveling in Bengal. And in his ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, he thought the Ganga to be Yamuna. And he offered wonderful prayers. One prayer he offered to Yamuna. There he refers to Yamuna as Mitrasya Putri, the daughter of the sun god. So here it is also explained by Prabhupada in the purport, the cow is supposed to be the daughter of the sun god, Duhitruhu. So in either reading, the meaning is the same. Cow is also considered to be non-different from the Supreme Lord. My own body, as far as the Supreme Lord is concerned, there is no difference between his body and his soul. So it is the Lord himself. In our case, our body and our soul are different. Whereas in the case of pure devotees, the Supreme Lord Krishna, anyone with a spiritual form, their body and their soul are identical, not different. They are identical. So, the Lord is telling, Ye me tanur dvijavaran duhatir madiya bhutani alabda sharanani. All these defenseless creatures, the cows, the brahmanas, the women, children and old men, are my own body, are myself. But if somebody who out of enviousness sees them as different from me, envy is such a bad thing that even though somebody may be respectful to Krishna, but out of enviousness towards a Brahmana, they may see the Brahmana not as belonging to Krishna. They'll see the Brahmana as different from Krishna. Such people are actually, if they are envious of Brahmanas, they are envious of Krishna. Because Brahmanas are not different from Krishna, according to this verse. There are some class of people in the society, they somehow have hatred towards women, and it's a mental disorder actually. They're called misogynist. In English there's a term for this. They hate women haters. So according to this verse, such people, by hating women, they're hating the Supreme Lord Narayana. So they are punishable. How are they punishable? They are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons. It's sinful to maintain hatred, to be envious of Brahmanas or cows or children or women or old men is actually sinful. And such sinful persons are punishable by Yamadutas. And how are they punished? They are torn apart by the messengers of Yamaraj. This punishment is given in hell. The Yamadutas punishing is only in hell. Of course, before the punishment, the Yamadutas come to take such sinful people to Yamaraj. That is also punishment only, because Yamadutas are very, very, very fierce to look at. The description is there in 6th canto of Bhagavatam. But the punishment is in hell. They just arrest and take them in their custody to Yamaraj. After Yamaraj's judgment, then only the punishment comes. Particularly those who are to be punished by being sent to hell. Hell means special punishment. So what is mentioned here torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers, Yamaraj is a punishment in hell. So you can imagine how grievous it is. Those who are sent to hell for punishment by Yamadutas are the most sinful people in the entire universe. Most sinful people. So just envying Brahmanas is very, 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 very sinful. Envying them. This happens in the mind. Envy, maintaining enviousness, is in the mind. It's a mental sin. Envying Brahmanas is a mental sin. Can you imagine? Just because of a mental sin, what is the punishment? Somebody is sent to hell. See, if in the material world, somebody's body is torn apart, it is instant death. They cannot survive for long. Right? Somebody's body is torn apart. Just like Narasimha. He tore apart the body of very angrily. He was very much in anger against Hiranyakashipu. Because Hiranyakashipu tortured Prahlad. That's why he was very angry. My devotee, dearmost devotee, you have tortured. So he was very angry. So he tore apart with his nails. So, the Yamadutas, when they punish, they tear apart the body of these sinful people. Now, in hell, which is also sometimes called Yamaloka, Yamaraj doesn't reside in hell, but he has got his superintendence over hell, hellish planets. 26 kinds of hellish planets, described in 5th canto of the Bhagavatam, last chapter. So that's sometimes called Yamaloka. So in Yamaloka, those who are to be punished, first of all, when somebody is taken to Yamaraj, they are not taken in the gross body, they are taken in the subtle body. And after that subtle body, they are taken to Yamaraj. If the punishment is that they have to take birth in some particular family in the human form of life, then they are sent to the womb of a particular mother and father, human being, species. But if they are to be degraded and taken birth as a hog, then first they have to be punished in hell to accustom them to eating stool and living like a hog. Because the mentality has to change. The mind has to get adjusted to enter a hog's body. So they are punished in hell. And that punishment is not in the subtle body. The subtle body is covered by one yatana sharira, one special body. And that body is meant for just inflicting punishment. That's all. Yatana means suffering due to punishment. Yatana means suffering due to punishment. So there is a special punishment body that is awarded to them. Just like prisoners are given one prison dress to identify as prisoners. Like that, this sinful people who are to be punished in hell, they are given one yatana sharira. That yatana sharira, what is the speciality? Yatana Sharira, just like this gross body, if it is torn apart, it will not remain. But supposing they are to be punished by their body being torn apart 100 times, that Yatana Sharira doesn't get destroyed like this gross body. It's like the subtle body. Like the subtle body, but it's not subtle body. So they can be torn apart 100 times. And each time they'll be like suffering, crying, screaming, extreme pain, 100 times they have to undergo. If they are to be beaten with one whip 10,000 times, 1,00,000 times, material world somebody is beaten so many times, they will not even survive, they'll be finished. I don't know how many times they can withstand the beating. Maybe 100 times, few hundred times, I don't know. Certainly nobody can withstand 10,000 times beating. It will be like beating a dead person after few times. But whereas Yatana Sharira, 10,000 times that Yatana Sharira will not become destroyed. It will not get destroyed. It will not become deformed. And they will keep on taking that beating and pain and suffering. This is punishment in hell. So, the suffering due to the punishment in hell is not like any other suffering in any other planet, in any body. It is totally extreme. There can't be more suffering, experience of suffering, than the experience of suffering due to punishment in hell. Sometimes these foolish materialists, they say, there is no separate hell or heaven. This is their theory, some materialistic persons. Whatever hell or heaven, that is here only. That means they think that if there is something like description of punishment in hell, here itself there is suffering, there is punishment. But what they don't understand is, even though somebody may go through extreme suffering in this earth planet, material world, still that suffering is not at all like the suffering in hell, due to punishment in hell. It's much more severe, extreme severity, hellish punishment. And these hellish planets are not part of the 14 planetary systems, by the way. I hope all of you know this. It is not even in the category of Patal Loka. Patal Loka is the lowest planetary system. But it is not even Patala, it's even different from Patala. Only meant for punishment, nothing else. There is no life there. There is no society. There is no living. You see, in this hell, it is only punishment, that's all. So, you can imagine how serious it is to be even envious of Brahmanas. Just being envious of Brahmanas is so serious. That's why in spiritual life it is said, Brahmana's quality. What is Brahmana's qualities in Bhagavad Gita? First quality that is mentioned, Shama. Shamaha, Damaha, Shamo, Damo, Tapas, Shaucham. Shama is particularly control of the mind. Open. 18.42, word for meaning. Shamaha. Shamaha. What is the meaning? Shravana Mangala. Huh? Peacefulness. In the word, in the translation? Same thing. Okay. It specifically refers to control of the mind. Some other translations or explanations Prabhupada gives control of the mind. So, mind control is essential in devotional service or in yoga practice itself. The 6th chapter particularly refers to control of the mind. So, mind control is essential so that we don't have any kind of enviousness. A devotee is non-envious. Pure devotee is completely non-envious. He is not envious of any creature. But a Brahmana at least should not be envious. Not a Brahmana. Any pious person who doesn't want to suffer in hell should not be envious of Brahmanas at least. Should not be envious of Brahmanas. It's very dangerous. Now again, somebody has got envy towards Brahmanas. If they give up that enviousness, then they are not liable to be punished. They are repentant. They understand the mistake and they are repentant. Then they are freed from the reaction of having been envious of Brahmanas. Some misunderstanding, somebody may develop some kind of envious feeling towards a Brahmana. But afterwards, if they realize their mistake and they are repentant, then they are freed from that sin. But somebody maintains enviousness towards Brahmanas, then this punishment is definitely there in hell for such people. Therefore, Prabhupada says in this purport that no one should be envious of these 5, especially the cows and Brahmanas. And it is the responsibility of the guardians to give protection to these 5 categories of creatures, created beings: cows, Brahmanas, women, children, and old men. The king has to give protection to the citizens, but particularly these 5 categories of citizens. These 5 categories, particularly the king has to protect. If he does not give protection, and if they are suffering at the hands of some exploiters, the king gets a portion of the sinful reaction for not having protected them. What a great responsibility the king has got. It's a very big responsibility for the king. Similarly, being a husband or a father, you see, it's a big responsibility. Protecting the woman or protecting the mother or protecting the, not mother, wife or daughter, protecting the wife, daughter or wife. It's a very big responsibility. If a husband is envious of his wife and maintains that enviousness, this is a punishment. Because they are also mentioned here. Alabdha Sharanani, Bhutani, defenseless creatures. Lord Narayana said, they are like me, my body. They are my body. Those who are envious, they are angrily torn apart by the bills of vulture like messengers of Yamaraj. And these are all not just some poetic descriptions. This is 100% fact. What is said here. So maintaining enviousness is very serious. Maintaining enviousness. All the offenses that we commit in the mind, not offenses, sinful activities that we may perform in the mind, can be rectified by realizing the mistake and being repentant. Being repentant at the mind level. Mentally we can ask forgiveness. But at the level of words, if somebody offends, then they have to ask for pardon using the tongue. Actually go and ask pardon. Or actually beg forgiveness. Not mentally, verbally. And if physically somebody has we committed a sin, then physically we have to beg forgiveness by bowing down using our body. You see? So mentally if somebody commits sins, then realizing within one's own mind and being repentant is enough. Because the degree of sin in the mind is not as severe as the degree of sin committed by words. And the degree of sin committed through physical violence or physical abuse or physical action is not as, the physical one is very more serious than even verbal sin. So degrees of sin are there. Accordingly, the remedy for becoming free from such sins is also correspondingly mentally, verbally or physically we have to beg forgiveness. But in the case of offenses against Vaishnavas, even if mentally we have offended a Vaishnava, we cannot mentally beg forgiveness and expect that we will be absolved of the offense. No. It doesn't work like that. What did Lord Narayana say? Lord Vishnu say to advise to Durvasa Muni when Durvasa Muni offended Ambarish Maharaj. Said, go to Ambarish Maharaj and fall at his feet. So, it is Vaishnava Aparad. You have to bow down. We have to actually ask for forgiveness. And in the mind also, we should be very repentant. And we should mindfully ask forgiveness. All the three levels we have to. That's why when we pay obeisances to Vaishnavas every morning, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, we have to physically bow down We have to also vibrate that prayer using our tongue, not mentally chant. We have to verbally chant, and we also have to, our mind should be there in the act of offering obeisances and chanting the prayer. So Vaishnava Aparadha is very serious. Whereas at the level of, on the material platform, sinful activities, there is consideration of levels of sin, mind, words or body. Okay, I'll stop here. Any questions? Yeah, you can loudly ask the question. Punishment given by state laws is different from punishment given by Yamaraj. Yes, it's different. But if the punishment is commensurate with the particular mistake or the sin that has been done, then there is no punishment by Yamaraj. Just like somebody has committed a murder. I'll give an example. It's a very gross example, but that's the example, very easily understandable. Somebody has committed a murder. So if the person is not punished, definitely is going to be punished by Yamaraj. If the person is punished by the state, the only punishment which can absolve the person is capital punishment. That means he also has to be killed. As a punishment, he has to be killed. Now supposing the state law pardons him. Nowadays they are after capital punishment to be abolished. It's very, very inhuman. It is considered inhuman. So if they don't give capital punishment for a murderer, then he is going to be punished by Yamaraj. He is going to be punished by Yamaraj. Like that.
As per Shastras, the punishment level is different, and as per state laws, the punishment different, Maharaj.
See, when they don't follow Manu Samhita, state laws are not to be specially enacted by the state. Shastras, they just have to follow Shastra. What the Shastra says, Manu Samhita is perfect law book for mankind, for human beings. So formally kings used to follow Manu Samhita, that's all. What are the laws of the state? Manu Samhita. Everybody is guided, everybody is following Manu Samhita, that's all. Even Yamaraj follows Manu Samhita only. When it comes to punishing human beings, Yamaraj also follows Manu Samhita only, nothing else. So it's because these state laws are being enacted by imperfect persons, there could be some wrong punishment or less punishment or no punishment, whatever. There's a possibility. Just like in state law, to kill an animal is not considered a state offense. Correct? To kill an animal is not considered state offense. But Manu Samhita, laws of God, it's an offense. It's an offense. And killing a cow is the worst offense, most grievous offense. Yeah.
Maharaj, this punishment, this whatever sinful activity that is applicable to the living, like human being, not to the other lower creature? Just
Never
like-
to the lower creatures. Lower creatures, there's no karma.
Okay. Okay.
There's
Just
no
like
karma.
land-
Whatever they do, there's no karma.
Okay. Yes, Maharaj. My next question,
So that's why
Maharaj.
human form of life is junction point. From human life, one can go down, or one can remain on the human level, or one can be elevated to the higher level. But lower creatures simply keep getting higher births till they come to the human form. Yeah, next question.
Maharaj, in purport it is explained these 5 kind of people to be protected, like Brahmana, cows, women, children and old person. So like Brahmanas, they are protected because they are carrying or giving this Brahmanical culture to the society. So they should be protected. Then cows, like
Giving
they're
milk.
maintaining. So like old person or children, could you please elaborate why they can be protected? Other 3.
That is explained in the first canto, 13th chapter. Women should be protected because the women are meant to generate Krishna conscious progeny. Krishna conscious. Human form of life is very precious. And the women are properly protected, then only there will be good population, Sat Santan. First chapter Prabhupada explains, no? Why women should be protected. Unprotected women, that's what Arjuna is telling. If women are unprotected, then there will be Varna Sankara population. Criminals will be born. So women should be protected so that there is good population. Children should be protected because Kaumaram Acharet Prajno, in the child stage, when they are taught good values, good habits, good Krishna consciousness imparted, then they grow up to be very nice citizens, very nice adults, correct? If they are not given proper protection when they are children, then they grow up to be Varna Sankara population. Children should be protected. Old men should be protected because old age is the chance to completely focus and dedicate themselves for spiritual practice, to prepare themselves for a better next life. That's why Shastras say, compulsorily after 50 years one should retire from household life and become engaged in spiritual activities exclusively. Panchashordhvam vanam vrajet. Jet means must go, compulsorily. That's a Shastric injunction. Any other question?
Like if someone witnesses some sin, how it will it affect the person who witnesses someone's sin?
Witnessing the sin is not sinful, but if somebody is a mute spectator, just like I am seeing something is happening and I am not doing something which I am supposed to do. Just like, to give a simple example, a father is seeing the son is ill-treating the mother. Now the father, as a husband, has got responsibility for his wife. So he can't be just standing and or watching, telling, I am not harming her, no. So then, he has to act. So everybody has to perform their particular duty or responsibility, irrespective of whether they are involved in a particular activity or not. Just like the king, he may say, I am not killing cow, somebody else is killing cow. No, he has to prevent that cow killing because he is responsible. If he takes no action for preventing cow killing, then the reaction of that cow killing the king will also get. Prabhupada mentions this in first canto, in one purport. Animal killing, it is considered murder according to laws of God. So, who are all responsible for the murder? Not just the person who killed, physically actually did the killing. It is the person who reared the animal, person who transported that animal, you see, person who was responsible for selling the meat, person who's cooking the meat, and person who's eating the meat. All of them are actually like a gang of conspirators to kill a person. This is state law also. If there's a gang involved in a murder, all the members of the gang are held responsible for the murder. They're all punished by state law. This state law actually. Similarly, there's a gang of criminals according to God's law in animal killing. One animal is killed. A gang of conspirators are punished. See how dangerous it is, modern day society. Somebody is working in a supermarket as a cashier. So, the person who is working in supermarket as a cashier may be a vegetarian. But if he is in the cashier counter, he is handling that meat packet and just swiping that through that barcode reader to register that purchase for the person who is purchasing. So he is selling meat, and if it is, Krishna forbid, cow meat, he is held responsible for the cow killing. And cow killers are punished in hell as many times as there are hair on the body of the cow. Can you imagine how much punishment is awaiting this fellow? This is the most dangerous situation in our modern day society. See, formerly, there used to be a butcher and he would only sell meat, that's all. There was no meat shop as such, separate from the killing of the animal. No separate meat shop. Concept didn't exist. They'll only kill and they'll only sell. But now, so many people not even aware of this killing, they are all involved in selling. So it's a very, very dangerous society. Risky, very risky. Last question.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, if someone borrows money from us and we are not sure what he's doing, like he's purchasing something, meat or for some intoxication, so is that also we are responsible? Are we held for it?
If he does not return the money, then you become responsible. Before he dies or before you die, if he does not return the money, then you are responsible. If he returns the money, then you are not responsible. I am telling this because many times people don't return money. Not one time you give, generally they will return in a responsible way. Habitual borrowers, they don't return, it's very risky. What they use the money for? Because your money which is spent if they don't return. So in the laws of God, it is like you are spent for whatever. That's why the punishment will come. Not full punishment, portion of the punishment. But then somebody is taken to Krishna consciousness. Even cow killers, they take to Krishna consciousness, they completely freed. Completely freed. In fact, other than taking to Krishna consciousness, bhakti, there is no other way of becoming free from the sinful reactions for cow killing. There is no other way. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so particular. Please preach this chanting of Hare Krishna. In the worst sinners can be completely freed from all sinful reactions simply by chanting Hare Krishna. That's a gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to this world. Many times it happens they are ignorant of how grievous a sin it is to be involved in cow killing. They are very, very ignorant. You see? Like all those who took to Krishna consciousness after Prabhupada preached in the Western countries. They were eating cow flesh, but they stopped, completely stopped. They realized how dangerous and how grievous sin it is. And now they're chanting Hare Krishna, they're completely freed. They're completely freed from all sinful reactions of cow killing. So that's why we should preach to people. Somehow make them chant Hare Krishna. Otherwise, their destination is to suffer in the worst kind of hell. You read in 26th chapter of 5th canto, what are the punishment for those who get habituated to intoxication, meat eating, illicit sex? You read, actually. The suffering is horrible, horrible. Very, very, very horrible. So to save people from this, and you know, 4 regulative principles are broken by people outside, so very common, isn't it? Very common, nowadays especially. So they are all candidates for hell. They are all candidates for hell. But they can all be saved. They can all be saved. That's why we have to actively, vigorously preach to save people from suffering. Okay, I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.